from Awesome Anthony Productions, and today we're going to be reviewing Brandon Cronenberg's second feature film, Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool centers on a married couple, struggling writer James Foster and his wealthy wife M, played by Alexander Skarsgård and Cleopatra Coleman. James has only released one novel 6 years earlier, and he and M have come to a private resort out of the country so that he can have some inspiration. But when he meets a young fan of his named Gabby, played by, of course, Mia Goth, and her husband Albin, played by Jaleel Lespert, they hit it off and decide to borrow a car and go to a beach outside of the resort compound. But on the way back, James accidentally runs over a local man and kills him. He wants to do the right thing and call the police, but Gabby and Albin let him know that the law and the police in that country are incredibly brutal, and that not only will the women probably get attacked, but the men probably wouldn't fare so well either if they got arrested. So they agreed to just go back to the hotel. But the next morning, James and M get arrested, and he finds out that he's sentenced to death. But in dealing with the brutal and vicious police of that country, including, as always, a quiet yet creepy Thomas Krushman as the main detective that they deal with, Detective Thresh, James and M find a loophole that only the super rich can take advantage of.
For a significant sum, we'll build a double to stand in for your execution.
For a hefty fee, this government will create a perfect clone of you with your memories, and that clone can take your place for execution. Something awakens in James after he watches his clone's execution, driving him further into the arms of Gabby and the rest of her rich friends who take full advantage of this legal system to live out their hedonistic urges with no consequences. I know I've said a lot so far, but it's really all I can say. Holy shit. I don't want to spoil it for you. If you saw Brandon Cronenberg's debut feature, Possessor, you can probably have a little bit of an idea of what kind of tone and experience you're getting yourself into, although by the end, these two movies were very, very different experiences. Where Possessor was all about the growth of an assassin's sociopathy and the evil of giant data mining corporations, Infinity Pool is another movie that I could say falls under the umbrella of rich people bad. That includes like the recent horror films like The Menu and Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Also, I realize that I just made the movie sound a little simple by just saying that it's rich people bad again, but trust me, the film is anything but that. It's definitely an easier narrative to absorb on the first viewing than Possessor, but there are still so many themes and layers here, not just to the story and the script, but to the characters and everyone's performances as well. I have so much to say about Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth being the two leads, so I'm probably really just going to talk about them, but trust me when I say that the rest of the cast here is all perfectly chosen, and really go a long way in driving home the film's themes about the rich and their hedonistic acts when they think that they don't have any consequences. Alexander Skarsgård's James perfectly portrays an insecure, selfish man that's hit a creative wall and just kind of seems bored with his life. But when that incident happens and the plot kicks off, we really see and feel Skarsgård's fear and feel that fear gradually grow into a morbid curiosity with every single drunken and drug-fueled act of excess that he does with all these people. And as the movie and his indulgences get crazier and crazier, devolving into drug-fueled crimes, orgies, violence, Skarsgård gives a perfect portrayal of someone that is letting every single intrusive thought win to avoid his crippling self-doubt and creative block, while still having that feeling that what he's doing may not be right lying in the back of his head. And on the other side of that token is Mia Goth. I didn't really think too much of her in Nymphomaniac because that movie was enough to absorb on its own without even worrying about the performances. So many penises. But since then, between Suspiria, X, Pearl, she's proven that behind that beauty and innocent eyes is an intense ferocity and an overwhelming amount of emotion that she can unlock in a second. She can bounce between innocently adorable to menacingly scary to seductive and sexy as easily as flipping a switch. And let me tell you, it is on full display in this movie. From her first introduction, Goth actually holds a lot back, staying subtle with her delivery in the beginning. But as the movie becomes more insane and unhinged, so does she. And by the end of the movie, she has such a villainous, unpredictable presence that I got nervous every time she came on screen. Though, to be honest, she still was a little sexy, even as she was screaming at the top of her lungs and committing violent, sadistic acts. Mia Goth just gives another great performance here. And since the Academy hates horror, she definitely won't be nominated. She did fine, and but horror is not a legit genre, you know, and it really doesn't deserve any awards. She did great. the Academy. So between her, Skarsgård, the excellent supporting cast, the great dialogue, and the slow reveal of the true plot of this film, the movie really had me intrigued and invested, with Tim Hecker's ethereal score just adding to the whole air of mystique and dread throughout the whole thing. This stayed through the rest of the film, and the addition of sequences with intensely trippy and psychedelic visuals, colors, and even some strobe effects. By the way, keep that in mind, this movie has some scenes of intense strobe that could really be upsetting for people with epilepsy and stuff like that, and there is a warning in the beginning of the film, so if that's going to be a problem for you, I wouldn't check this out. All of this just adds to the uncomfortable nature of what you're watching, while staying incredibly relevant to the themes of rich excess, hedonism, and even colonial tourism with the way these characters treat the country that they're vacationing in. The first half is so intriguing and brings up so many interesting points and themes, and the second half really expands on those and dives in with the trippy visuals, the insane acts committed by the characters, and a hair-raising, brutal climax, followed by a perfect ending that really drives those themes home. Although the movie is not perfect. And in the beginning of the third act, it does start to drag just a little bit before going into that awesome climax and ending like I mentioned. This is just a small complaint, and I think that it really only started to bore me a bit at that point because there's only so much I can get shocked and shocked and shocked throughout a movie before it starts not really affecting me that much anymore. And I think that's kind of what happened here before they shook things up during the climax. See, Possessor found increasingly nasty ways to make your stomach churn and shock you that just ramped up more and more as the film went on. Especially with its incredibly realistic and graphic violence and those really weird visuals of the possession scenes. Though Infinity Pool is a little easier to watch than Possessor, and not as realistically violent, it's still very shocking in many scenes. Between the graphic violence, sex, and the fluids that come with both, this is definitely not for anyone with a weak stomach. It's also not for someone that wants something simple and easily explained to them. You're gonna have to think about this movie. You can follow the plot easily enough, but enough is left ambiguous to leave you with questions, and like I said, you're really going to want to think when you're walking out of this film, just to ponder everything you just watched and absorb all the themes and visuals of the film. But for you horror lovers that are up in the head just like I am and want to see something that pushes the boundaries a bit, Infinity Pool is definitely an experience for you. With stellar performances, a unique and smart script, a great score, and some of the craziest visuals I've seen committed to film in the last couple years that are both beautiful and haunting at the same time, this film has definitely cemented itself as one of 2023's first great horror movies. And that's my review of Infinity Pool. Okay, asshole, was that good enough for you? Yeah. Just checked in with the Academy, Anthony. You're good to go. Maybe if you guys would actually focus on rewarding great movies and not just having it be a popularity contest or a political contest to see who can virtual signal the best, you wouldn't have to worry about like me accidentally predicting something in one of my YouTube videos. What was that? Oh, nothing. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, if you like this review, you know exactly what to do. Please leave a like, it really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. You can leave a comment, let me know if you saw the movie. And while you're at it, you can subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of my content. You can also find the links to my TikTok and my Instagram in the description below. And while you're at it, you can click or tap on these cards here. They'll take you to my review of Mithrigan or just over at my channel where you can check out my reviews, my shorts, and my old shit. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.